Hello, this is a video tutorial for the assignments in Unit 2, Activity 3. And since this activity has focused on setting, sure enough, the first assignment is going to be asking you to fill out a setting chart. That's something you should be familiar with. You should have done a practice setting chart in the content section of this activity, and you can always go back to the content. As always, you can go back to the content right up here at the top of the page, and you can review the setting chart from the content if you'd like. For the assignment, you're going to download a short story called Carrie and Monica, and that short story is going to look like this right here. It's all on one page, and it tells a story about two girls named Carrie and Monica who kind of, well, not kind of, they definitely don't get along. And they're going to be on the same volleyball team, high school volleyball team. If you have any trouble downloading the short story, let me know. It's in the activity as a Microsoft Word document. Secondly, I'm going to have you download a setting chart, and that setting chart is going to look exactly like this right here. Okay, and so if we open it up in Microsoft Word, it'll look like this. Okay, so again, same chart as what I posted on the web page here. And so you'll read the short story, Carrie and Monica, and then you'll answer these questions on this setting chart. And so the scene is set up for you. High school girls are preparing for volleyball practice. So that's the scene we're focusing on in this story, Carrie and Monica. So I'd like you to identify the time period. So what time does Carrie arrive for volleyball practice? So that's part of our setting is time period. The location or the place. So where does Carrie go to practice, to prepare for practice? So where does she go before practice? Okay. And then the atmosphere. Describe the atmosphere while Carrie is changing. So give me some detail. What is the physical environment like when Carrie is changing her clothes to prepare for practice? And then describe the mood. Describe the mood while Carrie is changing. So this atmosphere here, what mood, what feelings and emotions does it create? Okay. Identify the main characters. There's at least two main characters that you certainly will have to identify here. Describe how the characters are dressed. And you may notice that the characters change throughout the story, so you can give a little detail here about their clothing choices. But the characters in the story, it's very clearly identified what they're wearing. So I'd like you to identify their clothing. And then lastly, and this one isn't really a setting question, this kind of goes back to our previous activity on plot, but I'd like you to identify the main conflict in the story. So is this a character versus character story? Is this an internal conflict story? What is the main conflict in this story? And describe it for me. So use character names, use events in the story to show me what is the main conflict. Okay? If you want, you could copy and paste this chart into a Google Doc and answer the questions like that. Or, like I said, you can download a Microsoft Word version right here. If you have any trouble with the chart, please let me know. Our second assignment is going to be a portfolio entry. And you have already done portfolio entry number 1 in Unit 1. And now we're doing portfolio entry number 2. And so just a reminder on how our portfolio entries will work. You're going to complete a number of portfolio entries throughout the semester, at least one in each unit. And you will submit all of these entries as a package at the end of the semester, and they'll be worth 10% of your final grade. So what you should be doing is you should have a document that's called portfolio or portfolio entries, and you should already have it saved as a Google Doc or as a Microsoft Word document or whatever word processing program you use, because you should already have the first portfolio saved from Unit 1. So just go back to that document, and below the first portfolio, type portfolio entry number 2. Always use the entry number as your title. And then what you're going to do is you're going to answer this question right here. Okay, so if we look at the question, it says, in the first 3 activities of Unit 2, we have discussed the three most popular story elements. So we've looked at character, we've looked at plot, and we've looked at setting. And usually when students think of stories, those are the first three things they think of when they think of the elements of a story. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to review the material in this unit that you've looked at so far. We looked at character in Activity 1, we looked at plot in Activity 2, and of course we looked at setting here in Activity 3. And so then, once you've kind of got an understanding and feel like you're comfortable with character, plot, and setting, I'm going to ask you to answer the following question. When you read stories or watch movies or TV shows, which one of the story elements, character, plot, or setting, do you find the most interesting? Are you most interested in the characters' personalities and how they develop and change throughout the story? Are you most interested in the action and conflict in the story, which is the plot? Or are you most interested in where and when the story takes place, which is the setting? So each of us has different opinions and different points of view on things that we like when we're reading or watching stories. And so some people like to focus on the characters, and they like to really pay attention to the development of the characters and get into the mind of the characters and feel like they know the characters. Whereas other people tend to be more interested in the plot. They tend to be more interested in the action and the events and the story. Whereas other people can focus on the setting, and they can be really interested in a story based on the setting. So maybe if a story is taking place in a particular location that they're interested in, or during a particular time period that they're interested in, then that story grabs their attention more. So it's just your opinion I'm looking for here. What are you most interested what are you most interested in when you watch a story? The characters, the setting, or the plot? And I'd like you to provide specific examples from stories you have read or movies or TV shows that you have watched to support your opinion. You don't have to use examples from this particular course. If you watched a movie last weekend, you can use that as an example and tell me whether you are more interested in the character's plot or setting. You should have at least 8 sentences in your answer. And remember, you're not submitting this portfolio entry number 2 now. You're going to save it along with portfolio entry number 1, and we'll do portfolio entry 3 and 4 later on this semester, and you'll submit them all at the ending of the semester in Unit 5. If you have any questions about the portfolio entry, please let me know.